We're playing Snake in RuneScape, moving around the map, one chunk at a time. We have an hour to complete as many challenges as we can, before the Snake is going to randomly move forward, left or right. If we complete all the challenges in a chunk before time is up, the Snake grows, giving us more area to play in. Join me as we work towards the first goal of the account, unlocking the Champions Guild. This is SnakeScape. Welcome back. In the last episode, we entered a new area of the game, with a boat to Catherby, with the head of the snake now on White Wolf Mountain, and the tail of the snake, well, it's back in the Myths Guild, but that's because we've taken the boat over here. In these chunks, there's not too much to do, but the main attraction of being here is what comes ahead. With the tail of the snake currently facing south, we can only go towards the Druidic Ritual area, so I'm really hoping that we might be able to unlock some herb lore. But we won't get to find that out until later, so let's start with White Wolf Mountain. Before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the last two episodes. The response I've gotten from having the sub race is incredible. Now, unfortunately, this episode is being recorded at a weird time, which means I don't know what the outcome of that is yet. But I just wanted to say thank you nonetheless. Anyway, back to the video. Right, well, let's start the timer as I've just gotten a random event while procrastinating starting. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's talk to Posty Pete. Whoops, I've just looked back over at my recording and realised I set the timer for the wrong amount. Apologies for that. That should be the right amount. I only had it set to 1 minute for recording something else. But yeah, that's a nice random event. Let's see what we get from it. Some uncut sapphires. These are going to come in very useful for some crafting later down the line. But while I'm here as well, let's do the harvesting of onions. I'm going to plant tomatoes if we manage to get to 12. So I want to see beforehand how many onions we get and if we can get all the way to farming level 12. So yeah, it's not looking good. We only got 5 onions from that one. Yeah, no, we're going to need to get 10 onions, which is very unlikely. So I think we're going to be just short. Okay, let's go grab some more onion seeds and plant them up. No, not that way. And now we get level 12 farming, typical. Well, that means that with the marigolds, we can now plant tomatoes next time, and that they will be protected the whole time. What we need to get to now is we need to get back to making, well, oak longbows. Still slowly working on the Fletching grind. We're almost at 60 out of the 72 we need. So this will be a nice quick hour. Okay, so just in the last episode, we cut a load of willow logs and oak logs on the preparation in case we went up to go get the forestry area, so that after only a few hours we'd be able to buy the log basket, which is something I really want. But because the snake's gone in the other direction and we're almost certainly heading away from all of that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilise this for its fletching experience instead. I'll spend maybe the next 30 minutes fletching all of these into longbows. I did a little bit of digging, and to my annoyance, the fishing shop that we're about to gain access to, which I've been hoping this whole time has access to feathers, it doesn't. It doesn't sell feathers, which I assumed that most fishing shops did. Turns out that's just not true, which means that all the GP we saved up, we can't use it there. We're going to have to wait until we have one with feathers, like Port Sarim. Or the Fishing Guild, if we get the 68 fishing we need to get into there. In the rush of starting the chunk and getting confused with the timer, I actually completely forgot to go and start the fishing contest quest. So let's quickly run over to the dwarf here and start it. There we go, and let's start the fishing contest quest. And now we need to go over to Heminster. We need to go over to Heminster, sorry. So we can put this in the bank and just get back to doing some fletching. That'd be a really useful thing to unlock, but unfortunately it means we're going to need to go west and then come back here again. And with this, that is 60 fletching. 12 more levels to go, and that's a really nice milestone. And again, while I remember, I'm going to do a farming run. And with the end of this hour, we have now quite a decent stockpile of longbows. We've got 325 willow longbows and 2,600 oak longbows. Together, these should give us quite a bunch of money if we go sell them, which I think I might do this next hour. Let's jump in the chunk picker and have a look at where we currently are and where we'll be heading. And here we are. If you're wondering where the other end of the snake is, it's all the way down in the Myths Guild from the last episode when we got stuck down there. So when we move to our next chunk, we'll lose the Myths Guild down there. We were able to tick off the starting of the fishing contest quest and work more towards our fletching and money goal. So from here, we can only go in one direction. The snake's facing to the east into the mountain, but because we haven't completed the fishing quest, we can't get through it, and there's no way to get to the top from here, as the entrance is down here. So there's only one place we can go, which is into the east part of Catherby. Let's jump back in the game and see what we're going to work on. And we are now back to having a contiguous snake, which is quite nice. This chunk over here unlocks a fishing shop and a archery shop, which are both going to be quite useful. The fishing shop I can't use too much at the moment. I don't really want to prioritize fishing at the moment, but there is a big fishing net which I do want to purchase. In the archery shop, this is going to be very, very useful. We can buy bronze arrows from here for only 1 GP each. So what I think I'm going to do is, maybe not now, but in a few chunks time, I'm definitely going to hop and buy a bunch of these. We're going to need a load of them to train our ranged up. We're only level 38 at the moment, and I would like to get this up to 50 at some point. But for now, we need to focus on the fact that we are going to lose our bank in the next hour. And along with it, we're going to lose access to this general store over here. So what I'm going to spend the beginning of this hour doing is selling all of these longbows which I have in the bank. This might take a while, so we're going to lock in and get it done. But before we start with that selling, we've got a diary task to do, and I'm going to go buy that big fishing net to just have it on hand. Let's start the timer. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's grab some money and do a little bit of shopping. It's ridiculous this shop doesn't sell feathers. Like, why do only some shops sell feathers and not all of them? With our newfound big net, we need to do a little bit of big net fishing because there is an easy diary task here to catch a mackerel. Okay, well, we've got 2 leather boots so far. I would like a mackerel at some point. Hello. There we go. That is an easy task in the Kandarin area. There is another task we can do, which is to catch a bass, but that needs 46 fishing. And I don't particularly want to spend this hour fishing, so we will get to selling all of our stuff. One thing that I got pointed out a few episodes ago by a commenter was that we can sell these oysters. These are actually worth quite a bit. They're worth 16k high alching, which means they should be worth about 10k selling to the shop. So we started at about 75k. Let's see how much money we can make. This is exhilarating hopscape content right here. We're making about $1,000 a hop at the moment, which is really bloody good. Actually, because I need to do 500-ish hops anyway, I'm going to just set these to sell 1. They'll sell a lot slower, but we'll get a lot more money for them. Okay, I won't do it now, but thinking about it, I think that's going to be the most efficient thing to do. Just buy a bunch of arrowheads while we have access to that shop, and then work on getting as much GP as we can before we get to a feather shop. Like, feather shops are a lot less frequent than I thought they were going to be. Like, my assumption was, oh yeah, just any fishing shop, some general stores, they'll sell feathers. No, it's quite, limited, especially on the main continent. Okay, quickly, while I just remember, I need to do one more farming run. My tomatoes are done. But we're currently at over 150k, which is super cool. And there's 14 farming. Nope, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. Oh wait, no, we can go this way. I completely forgot that this shop was actually unlocked, so we can run the faster way around. And that's going to be the end of the hopping. That's an hour. We are now sitting at 159,000 coins, which is incredible. We were able to get almost 80,000 coins in an hour. But we only have 100 oak longbows left. This means that if we're able to get a feather shop, we can now feather about 2/3 of these 125,000 arrow shafts. But I'm going to quickly jump into some paint because I want to explain what on earth I'm doing here and why on earth I've just spent an hour hopping. So let's quickly talk about the Fletching master plan. So this will be a bit math heavy, but please do bear with me. So our goal is 72 Fletching, which is 900,000 experience. I feel like I've said that phrase maybe 100 times in this series so far. Anyway, we're currently at 275,000 experience. which means we have 625,000 XP to go. In my bank, I have 125,000 arrow shafts. So if we wanted to convert those arrow shafts into bronze arrows, we would get 125,000 experience from turning them from arrow shafts to feathered arrows, and then another 162,000 experience putting bronze arrowheads on those headless arrows. Which means, and in total, that is 287,000 experience banked, rounding down. Now, those feathers and arrowheads cost money. The feathers are going to cost about 250,000 GP to get, and the arrowheads are going to cost 125,000 GP themselves, which is 375,000 GP to convert the arrow shafts into bronze arrows. Now, I already have 150,000 GP, give or take, which means we need 227,000 GP more. Now, one oak longbow unstrung sells for about 20 GP when I'm selling them 10 at a time in hopping worlds. Now, they do sell for more if I sold 5, they sell for 26 GP, but I can't be asked to put up with that much hopping, so I'm going to assume I'm going to send them for 10, and we'll see how my patience does later. Which means I'm going to need to make about 11,000 oak longbows. But in the process of making 11,000 oak longbows, we're going to get 275,000 fletching experience, just turning the oak logs into oak longbows. Which means in total, with the banked arrow shafts, we have 287,000 experience turning those arrow shafts into bronze arrows, and we get 275,000 experience from making oak longbows to pay for doing that process. Which means in total, we're currently planning for about 560,000 fletching experience. Which means we have about 60,000 XP unaccounted for. Now, I won't bore you with the maths, but I reverse engineered that entire process, and I worked out that we need to make about 20,000 more arrow shafts to be able to account for that 60k XP. And that's perfect for me because I forgot to mention, I already have 20,000 arrowheads in the bank from when we were in Karamja, which means we'll just need to get some more feathers. So there's actually one thing we can tick off in that hour. We were able to do the Kandarin Easy Diary task of catching a mackerel in Catherby. Other than that, there's nothing else we can tick off. We were just selling off and working on the Fletching master plan. So what I gotta do is I'm gonna lose access to this chunk here. This is the tail of the snake, and the head of the snake will move forwards into Taverley. Let's jump in the game and explore the new chunk. And after a bunch of walking through the mountain, we are in our new chunk. I am super excited about the prospect of unlocking Herblore. I feel like most chunkmen wouldn't be, but for me, it's been a requirement anyway for unlocking chunks to get the Herblore requirement to clean any herb that a monster drops. But now if we can go north from here, that is going to actually unlock it as a reality for us, which I really hope happens. But before then, we've got another hour. So let's think about what we're going to do. This chunk gives access to the Taverley dungeon, which I really want to utilise because there are hill giants in the back, and we still need to work on the long and curved bone grinds that we have access to. But, as I just mentioned in the kind of voiceover of explaining the master plan, I first of all want to go and buy 150,000 arrowheads. Unfortunately, I won't be able to put them in the bank, which will be a bit rough for carrying them around, but they are quite a rare resource, so I definitely want to utilise it while we can. Now, there is a downside to this, which is that if we never get access to a feather shop, I'll never be able to put the arrowheads on top of the arrows. But what will really happen is that once we've done that, I'll kind of consider the fletching grind effectively completed until we get to a feather shop, or we get to a trunk with a load of chickens in it. But let's get to it. I'm going to run back over there and start hopping around to be able to go and grab ourselves a bunch of arrowheads. Right, let's get to it then. I've got to buy 125,000 arrowheads, so this is going to be a lot of hopping. Then, I don't know how long it's going to take, but it shouldn't take too long, maybe about 20-30 minutes. After that, I'm going to run down here and try killing some hill giants. I'm going to stick to melee for a bit, just because it's good, and then I might try out some ranged. So, let's start the timer. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's run over to the fletching shop. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is that this shop actually sells 2 best in slots, the studded body and studded chaps. which I will definitely be taking. We now actually have somewhat of a range setup, as opposed to just taking off my armor that I currently have. So I did my maths wrong for this by a factor of 10. It's going to take a lot longer than the 20 minutes to do this. I need to hop 1,200 times. A positive side effect of this is that I will have so many arrows for training range that I will never need to pick them up again. So iron arrow tips cost twice as much, and they give 1.9 times as much experience. So I actually think it's worth buying some. I'm going to buy 100 bronze arrow tips and 50 iron arrow tips with every hop. I'm basically going to use my entire cash stack doing this, but I think this is worth it, because the trade-off is that we could be using this cash stack to buy other gear. Now, what 72 Fletching does is it unlocks chunks and gets the whole snake longer, such that it will unlock better methods for us. Like, my best moneymaker at the moment is doing Fletching, so the second that we unlock something better than that, that makes this whole thing worth it. Hi, I'm BuschieBoi, and welcome to my hop-locked Iron Man, where I'm only allowed to do activities that require world hopping. Let's see how far we can get. Just dawning on me actually how many hops I'm going to need to do. I think all other plans have gone out the window. With this chunk, I just need to spend as much time as possible hopping and buying arrows as I can. It's going to save me so much time otherwise. And this is going to be the last purchase I make. That was a great hour. I mean, it was very long for me, but it should go very quickly for you guys. So we've got about 60,000 arrowheads at the moment, and we still have 100k left. So let's see where the snake's going next. It's dawned on me that the wilderness is a hell of a lot closer than I thought it was. So that was an exhilarating hour. So we can't tick anything off apart from my 2 ranged Beston slots that I picked up. We have a studded body, and we can't tick off the legs because they're overridden by the Puro here. We can pick up some better stuff with Puro. Of course, I'm not focusing on Puro at the moment. The Hunter and Puro grind is going to come a bit later. The snake's currently facing east out of Taverley, so we can go in 3 directions. We can go to the Druidic Circle, which will unlock Herblore for us. We can go forwards past Doric's hut, or we can go south into the Dark Wizard's Tower. The wilderness is actually kind of close here, so out of these 3, I am really hoping we go north into the Druid Circle. This is kind of a big one, so let's see where we're going next. And it's north into North Taverley. Let's jump in the game and do Druidic Ritual. So this is the North Taverley chunk, or the Druidic Ritual chunk. And this is a great chunk for us, because we'll be able to complete the Witch's House. But we won't be able to complete Druidic Ritual, which is something I've only just realised. I completely forgot that you need 4 different types of raw meat to be able to complete this quest. One of which is bear meat. And the only spawn for bear meat near here is on the other side of this wall here. These 2 tiles down here, just next to the wall, are actually impassable. Just for demonstrative purposes, if I unlock this chunk here, and I try and walk into it, I have to walk into this chunk over here. You can't actually access this one. For some reason, all along here, this is actually, you can't walk into these 2 tiles. I never knew. We won't be able to get access to bear meat. And the other meats, I have some in the bank, but of course we don't have access to a bank yet. So I won't actually be able to complete Druidic Ritual. But we'll still be able to complete the Witch's House and start the other quest. Another key thing about going up in this direction is that the snake is guaranteed to come back on itself, because we won't be able to complete Death Plateau. So we'll not be able to get up here because we need the trout, the bread, and an iron ingot, which we can get the iron ingot from dwarfs, which are in Taverley Dungeon, but we can't complete any more than that. So the snake is guaranteed to go up here and then back down again, in through Catherby. So that means that we can pause our bronze and iron arrow tip purchasing for a bit later. These bronze and iron arrow tips that I've already purchased have already saved me about 10 hours of fletching, which is something which I really, really like. But because we're going to go back to that arrow shot guaranteed in the next 4 rolls, I'm going to work on the long and curved bone drop, as there's a bunch of hill giants down in Taverley dungeon. So let's work on the quest and then we can get to killing some hill giants. Right, let's get to it. So in order to complete the Witch's House quest, we need some cheese. And to get cheese, we need to go into Pura for a little bit. Go bare hand some baby implings to try and get some. I should have my kit still saved in Pura, so this should be pretty easy, but let's run over there. Let's start the timer. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's run down to the Pura entrance. Hey, there's one piece of cheese. I'll just grab a second one just in case. Just need one more piece of cheese. 1 in 10. Luckily, this is really easy to do. Like, I'm guaranteed basically to catch it each time. You know, okay, right. Let's see whether I can do this without screwing up first try, because I think it's just gonna take a bit too much time. Oh man, I hate not having access to a bank. It's so annoying. And there we go. Okay, now we just need to take this ball and not get caught on the way out. It's much harder than I thought it would be. True that. Nice, there's 4 quest points. We're now up to 19 quest points out of the 32 we need. We are almost 2/3 of the way there. And 50 hit points. Super nice. Let's just quickly start Druidic Ritual and Grim Tales. We can only do the first few steps of each of them, but we might as well get them started. Yada yada yada. Okay, I'll do that. Yep, and that's as much as we can do because we can't get these meats at the moment. I'm really hoping to come back to this area with access to a bank once the snake is longer, and then we'll actually be able to complete a bunch of these. Beans, my friend, beans. Okay, with that done, let's now go over to the Taverley dungeon and start killing some hill giants. My inventory is already such a mess. Right, there we go. Okay, now we're over here. My melee DPS is so much higher than my range DPS at the moment, especially just with bronze arrows. I'm not going to be able to do that much damage. So, a 1 in 400 long bone and a 1 in 5,000 curved bone. Let's see how many of these we'll be able to kill this hour. We're still working on our defense level. We're just going to try to get this up to 50 and then we'll work back to strength and attack, and you know the drill by now. So actually, these studded chaps are actually my best in slot defense, because my iron plate legs don't give me any extra defense bonus. So that's actually an upgrade. Sorry, I was just hovering over to have a look at the stats. But yeah, no, that is true. That is a best in slot. So we don't need these iron plate legs anymore. Like, what a noob. I mean, just look at my setup. I look ridiculous. But I guess this is the way of the somewhat tangentially chunk ban related account. So in the next chunk, I believe we actually get access to a bank, because there's the rogue's den in the next chunk, and even though you need 50 thieving and 50 agility to get into the actual rogue's den minigame, I don't think you need it to access the bank, which means that we'll be able to put away a bunch of this rubbish in the next hour, which I'm really looking forward to. Oh, another giant's key. Very, very nice. I think we're up to 5 now, I want to say. 4 or 5 of them. This is going to come in so useful for when we get access to Obor. And with that, that is going to be the end of the hour. Let's jump in the chunk picker, because the next few chunks are guaranteed and I'll explain why. And here we are. In that hour, we were able to tick off a few tasks. So we were able to do Druidic Ritual up to step 2, complete the Witch's House, and I only did step 1 of Grim Tales. I couldn't be bothered to do any more of it just because we're so far away from the requirements for that quest. And that was it. We didn't get access to the curved or long bone, and yeah, the quest just took us a while to do. So let's explain where the snake is going to go. The snake is currently facing north into Burthorpe, with the second chunk being here, third chunk being here. The tail of the snake is in White Wolf Mountain. Now, the snake can't go right from here because of the 2 tiles which I showed as a demonstration, and this agility shortcut up here requires the diary task to be done. So we're going to unlock Burthorpe, unlock White Wolf Mountain. And this is where the snake's going to be for the next hour. But from here, this is where it gets interesting. Let me just jump into sandbox mode quickly. So from this chunk, we can't go east because of the agility shortcut, so we can't go into this chunk here. We can't go forwards because there's no way to access it. So the only way we'll be able to go is into the Warriors Guild. So the next chunk roll will be unlocking this and unlocking this. But then, now with the snake facing left in the Warriors Guild, we can either go to the Death Plateau, into Max Island, or down to White Wolf Mountain. Max Island I'm not considering completable, just because this is a dead end, there's nothing in here, there's nothing we can do. And Death Plateau, we can't complete the quest, so we're not going to be able to get access to the climbing boots, because we don't have any way of getting the trout and bread to actually complete the quest. So that is not going to be unlockable. Which means the only direction we're going to be able to go from here is back into White Wolf Mountain. Which means the snake will go down here, we'll lose access to Taverley. So then once the snake is in this position, we have the similar problem. If you look closely at the chunk map here, the snake is facing south into this chunk here, which means normally these two would be rollable. We can't actually get into Camelot Castle because from the ground here, there's no way to actually get up onto this first ridge of the mountain. So the only way of getting up there is down over here. And in order to get into even this part of the chunk, we can't get here because we have to go through the Max Island chunk. So this chunk is actually not rollable, meaning we're guaranteed to go back into Catherby when we lose access to the Druidic Circle, which means then these two chunks will be rollable. I hope that makes sense. Basically, TLDR, the next 4 hours of chunks are guaranteed. Let's jump in the game and speedrun a bit of progression. We can get a Slayer task for the very first time. Right, so moment of truth. Let's have a look and see whether we can get down this trapdoor without the agility requirement. Yes, we can. Perfect. So we have access to the bank chest down here. So we can get rid of all of the crap that we don't need anymore. Look at all of these arrow tips. We still need to buy another 60,000 of them, but this is great. We'll do that once in 4 hours time when we get back to Catherby. But I can dump all of this rubbish. No need for any of it. Oh man, if only we'd had access to some rooftop agility courses, this chunk would be incredible, being able to get some graceful. I mean, if we also had the 50 thieving requirement, we could get full rogue set. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to get that yet. So this chunk is not too useful. The main use for this chunk is going to be starting the Death Plateau quest and also getting our very first Slayer task from Turiel. I mean, the chances that we'll be able to complete this anytime soon are very, very low, but it'll be cool to have one nonetheless. Okay, so let's start the timer. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's grab an assignment from Turiel, and it's monkeys. Okay, well, that's just telling us we need to go back to Karamja, and I don't particularly want to do that. So let's start Death Plateau. Oh, of course it's giving me, the game's bloody taunting me. And let's start the Death Plateau quest. Okay, he doesn't want to talk about it, as you do. Yep, so this part, a pre-made Blurberry special is what we need. So I am going to leave this for now, and we'll grab one of those if we're ever in Grand Tree or back in Karamja again. Let's run back to those hill giants. I still want to hunt the long and curved bone. And here we are back in our home. There's nothing else, I don't think, that any of the chunks unlock. So for the next 2 hours, I'm going to focus on just doing this. Oh, another giant key. Very nice. And another hour, and no big or long bone. The Warriors Guild is unfortunately a completely useless place. It requires a total of 130 between your attack and strength XP. So I'm at level 100 at the moment. You need to get a 65 in both of them before they become unlockable. Which means that this chunk is not really that useful. So let's get back to doing some hill giants. Oh my goodness. Currently sitting at about 980 KC. Still no long and curved bone. We're about to hit 1,000 kills. Now officially over 1,000 hill giants, which means that we're now 2.5 times dry for our first long bone. But we're only 20% of the way of the rate to the curved bone, so I'm not going to start complaining just yet. And with this big bone, that is level 40 prayer, which unlocks Protect from Missiles. Protect from Missiles is going to be great for doing some more PVM. Once we get all 3 unlocked, then we'll actually be able to do things like Scurious and Obor, and it's going to be really, really nice when we get back over to Varrock. And with that kill, that's going to be the end of yet another hour of Hill Giants. We're now at 1050 KC with no end in sight. We are literally like 200 experience away from the next defense level, but that is going to have to wait. Let's see what we're going to do next. So this hour is a bit of an intermediary hour between, well, doing the Hill Giants and getting back to doing a bunch of Hopscape. So I am going to spend a while trying to kill these druids up here, because they actually have my best in stock prayer tops and bottoms with their druid top and druid bottoms. They're a bit like Zamorak legs or, wizard's legs. So I need to obtain both of them. They're level 33, so they might be a bit difficult to kill, but we're going to give it a shot. I'll at least try for a little bit, see how many cakes it gets through. They're 1 in 23, I believe. So we just need to get 2 of those drops. But let's give it a shot. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see how this will go. And there is 50 defense and 800 total. We'll drop back over to strength, so then we'll work on getting the next max hit. And there's one of the drops we need. There's the druid's robes. Just need the druid's top, and then we'll be finished with these guys. Hey, and there's the druid robe top. That was a lot quicker than I expected it to be. I only had to kill 13 of them. Each of them is a 1 in 20. So yeah, that was a kind of a nice spoon. Now there isn't that much I can work on in this chunk that isn't just some like ridiculously long grind. Like for instance, I could technically train thieving. There's a chest downstairs that has 3,000 thieving experience an hour. But what I think I'm going to do is there is a general store here. So what I'm going to do is there's oak trees just down here. Chop the oak trees, turn them into longbows, sell them, run back, and that should generate a nice little bit of GP. We're going to be using about 100,000 of these coins to buy the rest of the arrow tips from earlier when we get back to Catherby, which means you have about 7,000 as our like actual cash stack at the moment. We will need to get about 250,000 coins more than we currently have as our final goal. Once we're done with Catherby, it will be quite easier to have a look of like actually how many coins we have left. But yeah, so as an estimate, we're still missing about 250,000. Cool, and that was a quick bit of money making. We made about 12,000 coins doing that. So we've still got about another 230,000 more to get. But let's move on. Finally, we get Catherby back next, so we can get back to doing a bunch of Hopscape, buying the arrowheads. Welcome back to Hopscape. So we are going to have to buy another 63,000 arrow tips between these two. We should have plenty of money for it, and what that means is that we'll have plenty of XP for getting our way to 72 Fletching. We did a little excursion going up and back down again, but after this chunk we'll finally be able to jump in the chunk picker, tick off everything we've done, and then roll where we're going to go. So let's get it started. 3, 2, 1, go. Where is this dude? Cool. And with that, that's basically an hour of hopping done. You probably didn't see any of that. There is 79,000 bronze arrow tips and 29,000 iron arrow tips. This brings our grand total to 108,000 arrow tips we currently have. We still need to get another 17,000 arrowheads split between these two. And we've got plenty of money to do that. So I will do that just at the beginning of the next chunk, but we have a 50-50 to see whether we go back into West Catherby or we go back over towards the Taverley dungeon. Well, let's see where we're going. Now this is a pretty big roll. We can tick off the stuff we worked on in the last few hours. So we got the druid's top and the druid's bottom, but nothing else. Still working on the curved and long bone. And we were able to tick off the fact that we did receive a Slayer task from Turiel, or 3 combat. But other than that, in that kind of loop, we weren't able to tick anything off. So our 2 options from here take us west into Catherby or to Taverley Dungeon. Let's see where we're going. And it's to West Catherby. we lose access to Berthorpe, and we can't actually get around here anymore. But this is pretty scary because of the docks here, but let's jump back into the game and have a look around. So we've got one chunk left on this episode. We're going to finish off all the arrowheads we need. We need 16,000 more to have enough arrowheads to be able to turn all of the arrow shafts into arrows, and then we'll be able to see how many coins we have left and start working on a bit more fletching to get our cash stack all the way back up again. So let's start the timer and get to it. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's run into the fletching shop yet again and play a little bit more Hopscape. Should only be about 15 more minutes. And with that hop, we now have enough arrowheads to turn all of the headless arrows we're going to make into arrows. Oh, which, if that took about 2.5 hours of hopping in total, just to buy all of them. It's going to be a lot quicker when we need to go and buy all the feathers. This should, actually, I think we're about 1,000 short. Take 2, we actually now have enough. So these two combined are just over 126,000 arrowheads for the just about 126,000 arrow shafts. Now we just need 126,000 feathers, which is going to cost us at bare minimum 260,000 GP. We have 24,000 sitting here, so we've got to get a load of fletching done. So let's get back to it. And there's 67 wood cutting. Wonder how many more levels of that we're going to get. And that is going to be the last hour of this episode. We'll see where we're going next before we end the episode, but we have 263 oak longbows with 62 oak logs. Selling these, they go for about 25 coins each, so we're a long way off of the 250,000. We're going to need about 10,000 of these. And here we are. So, we were able to complete the first step of the Fletching master plan by finishing up purchasing all of the arrowheads that we need. And we haven't been able to complete any of the other chunk tasks that we have available to us. I mean, some of them are a bit ridiculous, like we have lots of 99s here. But with the snake currently facing left out of Catherby, we have the 2 chunks that are next to us. And we also have the 2 chunks which are on the charter ships, which are not connected to the same continent as the snake. So, from here we can either roll into the Sorcerer's Tower, into Camelot Castle, down into Brimhaven, or onto Musa Point. Of these, I really just want to stay near Catherby. Going to Sears Village would be incredible for this account. And being stuck up in this area is really not going to be bad at all. But going to Karamja yet again would be very rough. We've already been there 3 times to this top and once into the bottom. If we do roll into Karamja, I much prefer Musa Point to Brimhaven, but let's see where we're going. And it's Musa Point. This chunk is called Port's Rim Church, but we only have access to this little bit here. That is very annoying, but I mean, we can't really complain. This, out of the 2 Karamja slots, this is the much better one. It lets us have access to a bank after we know whether we're going back down into the bottom of the jungle or not. So, we lose access to the Warriors Guild. Let's jump out into the game. Well, that is pretty rough that we're going to have to go back through Karamja again. But that's just the way the rules work at the moment. Next episode, we will start by taking the charter ship down to Moose Point. But before then, I've got a lot of work to do on this island. But before then, I have a lot of work to do in this port. So, we'll get ourselves ready to maybe exploit the one upside of going back into the Karamja jungle. But we'll see that next episode. Goodbye.